So, welcome to Jumbo IS and welcome to our lecture series called Daily News in Shorts. In this lecture series, we cover a particular day's current affairs in a short span of time. Now, needless to say this, that you have to revise this lecture just after watching it, because if you'll only watch this lecture, these current affairs would quickly skip your memory. Therefore, you need to retain them, at least till your exams. Therefore, you need to revise these current affairs from the notes provided by us on our Telegram channel. The link to our Telegram channel is provided in the comment section just below this video. Okay, so enough of the introduction. Let's straight away jump into the lecture. But first, let's take a look at the list of topics that we shall cover today. So let's begin. So daily current affairs, 22nd of December, Monday, and here is the topics list. Number one on this list is drug data exclusivity. Recently, Government of India has come out with this provision, which will really harm the pharma sector in our country. Okay, so we'll talk about this drug data exclusivity. Okay, it's very important. Then topic number two is elephant deaths on train tracks. Recently, an incident happened because of a train collision with 7 elephants, and these 7 elephants died because of that. So how can we stop this tragedy from occurring in future? What sort of steps have been taken by the government? So we'll talk about this. Then the third topic, not that significant, but still, what if an MCQ is asked in your prelims examination? Indian Army has changed its fitness tests, physical tests that are important for Indian Army personnel and officers also. Regularly, every year they have to give 8 fitness tests. So we'll talk about these changes, and in the end we'll talk about the environmental factors behind dense fog in North India. It is important because environment, concepts related to environment, MCQs related to those concepts are asked in your prelims examination. So we'll talk about all these things. So these are the 4 topics that we shall zero in our attention on. So let's start discussing them one by one. Starting with topic number 1, and that is drug data exclusivity. Now listen to me very carefully, because if you'll understand this context, then you'll understand this topic also. Okay? You see, whenever a medicine is created by a pharmaceutical company, well, creating medicines is very difficult. A lot of research and development has to be done. Okay? So R&D expenditure is huge. Now, after that research and development, once the pharmaceutical company creates a new medicine, well, it wants some return on its investment in research and development. So what they do is they take a patent. Okay, so all medicine makers, if they are coming up with a new medicine, they take a patent. Okay, that patent lasts for 20 years. Now that patent means that only that company is allowed to manufacture and sell that medicine. If any other pharmaceutical company wants to sell that medicine, then it has to take a license and give a license fee to the innovating company. For 20 years, this is done. Okay. After 20 years, the patent expires, and then the medicine is open for companies to make and sell. Okay. After the patent expires, then anyone can do it. Now, after the patent expires, that is why many companies come and sell that medicine. Those medicines are called generic medicines. You must have heard about them, right? Now, these generic medicines are very cheap. Why are they cheap? Because all these companies who are manufacturing these medicines after the expiry of patent, well, they haven't done any research and development on it. So their cost is pretty low. They are relying on the research and development and the data of clinical trials by the innovating company. Okay, so that is why they can quickly, without any significant cost, just manufacture that medicine and sell it. So the price of generic medicine comes down. Okay, this is what is generally done. Now here's the thing. What happens is that for the first 20 years, when the patent is going on, the data on research and development and clinical trials, because no medicine can come out without clinical trials. The data on clinical trials is out there in the open. So generic manufacturing companies within this 20-year period, well, they basically prove that their medicine will be same as this clinical trial medicine of the innovating company. This is known as bioequivalent studies. Once the studies are done, then these generic medicine companies wait for 20 years. The approval, everything is done. Just after 20 years, they start manufacturing it and sell it. Clear? Because for these initial 20 years, the data of clinical trials is open for all. Yes, but now government is saying that we will keep this data private. This is known as data exclusivity. If the government will keep this data private, then after 20 years, generic medicines have to conduct fresh bioequivalent studies. Okay, and maybe during this 20-year period, they would have to conduct their own clinical trials, which would take a lot of time and which would also increase their costs. So if this thing is done by Government of India, if data exclusivity is done, then generic medicines can become expensive, and generic medicines would also take a lot of time to be released in the market because they can use the clinical trial data after 20 years. Okay, so this is the threat. Now, India is dominated by those pharmaceutical companies who manufacture generic medicines. These pharmaceutical companies would be at a loss if this provision is passed, if data exclusivity provision is passed. You understand the context now? Let's talk about this news article in detail. Okay? So, drug data exclusivity. So, what was in the news? The Indian government appears to be considering implementing data exclusivity in the pharma drug sector. The lack of data exclusivity provision is what has given India's pharma industry some edge, which thrives on marketing cheaper generics, its edge in the global market. You know, India is known as the pharmacy of the developing world. Why? Because India can produce cheap medicines and export them to the rest of the world. Now, the reason why India can produce cheap medicines quickly is because India lacks data exclusivity. But now, if India is given this opportunity, or if Indian government implements this data exclusivity, well, India might not be, no longer be, the pharmacy of the developing world. Okay, this is the threat. Now, let's talk about data exclusivity in detail, though now you understand the background. So, when a company develops a new drug, it must submit clinical trials data demonstrating the safety and efficacy of its products to regulators. Who is the regulator in India? Central Drug Standards Control Organization. Okay, the regulator may use this data to approve another company's generic version on the basis of much less bioequivalent studies. So these generic companies they just have to prove that their medicine is similar, okay, similar to the innovating company. They just have to prove this. This is known as bioequivalence. Once they have proven this, then there is no requirement for clinical trials. Okay. The generic manufacturer can then start marketing its generic drugs on the date the original company's patent ends. Okay, this is what data exclusivity is. What is data exclusivity? This provision grants innovator pharma company exclusive rights over the clinical trial data. Now, this is the position which is currently in India. But once data exclusivity is passed, then this would be the current position. Okay. So generic drug companies have to either wait until the patent expires or conduct their own clinical trials, which would be expensive. So this would happen if government passes this law. Okay. Now, what is the negative impact of this? First of all, evergreening of patents. This is a very serious threat. You know, innovating pharma companies' patent expires in 20 years. But what these shrewd pharma companies do is that they make certain changes in their medicine, which has no impact on your health, but just certain tweaking in chemical formula. And then they renew their patent for another 20 years. Okay, this is known as evergreening of patents. This would be encouraged now. Then delaying entry of cheaper generics to the market, and this will harm India's pharma exports because now they'll have to conduct bioequivalent studies after 20 years, or they have to conduct their own clinical trials before 20 years. This is threatening. Companies conducting questionable, unnecessary clinical trials will get incentives. And then this would, because now patents would be there, evergreening would be encouraged. So there will be more monopolies. And when there is more monopolies, prices are generally high. This would make Indian medicines less affordable. Okay. Now the question is, if this move has such negative consequences, why is Indian government doing it? Well, the thing is, Indian government is doing this because it is facing a lot of pressure from Western countries. Because Western countries have these big pharma companies which want exclusivity. Okay. Now India is conducting trade deals with UK, European Free Trade Community, and even USA. USA, the negotiations are on. And US pharmaceutical companies are putting pressure on their own government to put pressure on India to bring in this data exclusivity. That is why Indian government has to do this. Though there is no international obligation on India, okay, TRIPS, which is a WTO agreement, no obligation on India. Yet, maybe people are speculating that we are doing this because of American pressure. Okay, and government of India is saying that if we'll do this, then as per India UK free trade agreement, okay, India UK free trade agreement and India EFTA, European free trade community, okay, which includes Switzerland and all. Well, these pharmaceutical companies would bring in a lot of foreign direct investment in India if we'll do this. So Indian government is saying we are doing this for FDI. And what they are not saying is maybe that America is putting pressure on them for concluding, well, the free trade agreement quickly. And in that free trade agreement, data exclusivity will be a provision. Let's see what happens. But this is a very, this will have negative consequences for India. Okay? All right. Now let's quickly shift our focus to next news item, and that is elephant deaths on train tracks. Now there was a train from Delhi and it was, well, destined to reach Assam. And in Assam, on the railway tracks, well, there are a lot of elephants in Assam. They were crossing the rail tracks and the train collided with them. The train also, well, had some negative consequences. It got derailed, but 7 elephants died. Now, this is bad news for Project Elephant, in which we are protecting this species. Yes? So, how can we prevent these collisions? Because train tracks do pass through forests, and elephants have a tendency of basically moving around the forest for foraging. Now, how can we stop this? Better planning, AI, technological solutions. What solutions are there to prevent this? And if those solutions are there, then what has Government of India done so far to prevent these accidents from happening? Let's quickly talk about this, okay? So, elephant deaths on train tracks. So, what was in the news? Delhi-bound Rajdhani Express collided with a herd of elephants in Assam's Hojai district, okay? So, from Assam to Delhi it was. The collision also resulted in the locomotive and 5 coaches of the train being derailed, although no passengers were injured, but 7 elephants died. Now, this is quite common in India. In fact, it is said that many elephants die every week, every month because of train collisions. What is the situation? India records around 20 elephant deaths annually from train collisions. And these deaths are concentrated in northeast frontier railway zones like Assam, where tracks traverse through forests and non-designated corridors. Many of the railway tracks pass through forests where elephant populations are found. So that is why these deaths are mostly concentrated in northeast. Now, mostly male elephants suffer because they have a tendency of moving in night for foraging into other territories and collecting food. So they suffer. Over 70 elephants died in such incidents in the past 5 years alone. Now, what is the way forward? How can we prevent such accidents? Okay. What are the mitigation strategies? So, avoidance, prevention is better than cure in this. Avoidance remains ideal by rerouting infrastructure away from elephant habitats. So, don't pass these train tracks from elephant habitats. Create these train tracks away from elephant habitats. This is the best possible strategy. And migration path. As per IUCN's 2023 Handbook on Asian Elephants and Linear Transport Infrastructure. Linear transport infrastructure, well, that transport infrastructure which is straight line, linear, like roads and railway tracks. Okay. Wildlife crossings, underpasses or overpasses should be created more often, okay, more frequently. I mean, on these railway tracks, you need to have these corridors, these underpass, overpass from where elephants can pass, okay. Placement of these passes relies on GPS telemetry and camera traps. Through camera traps, you can detect elephant movements, okay, and check which are the hotspots from where elephants quite frequently pass through, and then create overpasses, underpasses, or avoid the railway track altogether. Speed restrictions apply in 150 designated corridors. You can do this also. Then, tech interventions. You can use technology. AI-based early warning systems like NFRs, Gajraj uses seismic sensors, okay, which detect elephant movement, optical fibers, cameras, machine learning to detect elephant up to 750 meters ahead, alerting pilots and stations. Now, these are deployed in Kerala, Tamil Nadu region and Northeast. Plus, Southeastern Railway has deployed elephant intrusion detection system, which uses AI to give early warning. So you can use technology, but the best possible solution is avoidance or creating these underpasses, overpasses. All right, that would be all. Now let's quickly shift to another news item which is not that significant, but yet we should know about it, and that is physical tests in the army. Now look, army is one such organization where all the personnel should be physically fit. Now, how does army ensure that these troops, these people, these personnel are battle ready and physically fit? It is one such occupation where we cannot have unfit people. We all know about this, right? So for that, army conducts, well, two tests, physical tests every quarter. That means every year, Indian army people have to give 8 tests, physical tests. Now this is too many tests. These are too many tests. And this basically diverts their attention to tests only, physical tests only. What if there is a provision where they have to give only 2 tests every year? Okay, that's about it. And they have to be always fitness ready. So reducing the number of physical tests is something that they are thinking about. And that's what has been done by Indian Army. Okay, so let's quickly talk about this and what are the benefits of this move. So physical tests in the army. So what was in the news? Indian Army plans to merge its quarterly battle efficiency test, BPET. So there are 2 tests every quarter, and physical proficiency tests. So BPET and PPT, they are conducted every 3 months, every quarter. So what the government is doing or army is doing is combining these 2 tests into one CPT, combined physical test, and that would be conducted twice every year. Okay, it shall be applicable uniformly from Agniveers to top officers up to the age of 60. So everyone has to give this test. Now, what is the current situation? Okay, what is this BPET? It is conducted for people up to the age of 45, evaluates battle readiness, 5-kilometer run, vertical horizontal rope climb, 9 feet ditch jump, 60-meter sprint, all with weapons and loads, backpacks, weight. Then PPET. It is for up to age of 60, adjusted post 50. The test is changed for people who cross 50 years of age, because with age, your physical fitness declines. So 3-kilometer to 2-kilometer walk, focuses on proficiency, 3.2-kilometer run. You don't need to basically remember all these details. Okay, just to give you an idea, just remember this, that there are 2 tests that are conducted. Okay, BPET and PPT. Both conducted quarterly, creating testing overload. Okay, now what is the new test? So for below 45 years, this is the test, which is more aggressive. For 45 to 55 years, this will be the test. Not that physically taxing. And a similar test for officers beyond 55 to 60. The only difference between this and this is that in this test, there will be supervision. Someone will test you and grade you. In this, no supervision is allowed. Okay, then this is the new grading system. Don't need to remember. Just remember the benefits of this. Okay, focus to constant fitness rather than every quarter you are focused on these tests. Army personnel had to clear 2 sets every test every quarter, keeping them busy for tests through each quarter. The new combined tests will shift the focus to consistent fitness rather than consistent tests. Test frequency is reduced. This frees up their mind. Okay, it saves time, freeing time from training for training sports. So sportsmen in the army training while maintaining standards amid hybrid threats. Okay, so frequent tests would reduce their or free up their time to focus on sports and other training. Internal studies deem it relevant, practical, inclusive. Senior officers now accountable. So the test is for people up to 60 years also. So now even senior officers are accountable. This boosts the morale of forces. Young officers or young personnel would also see that their senior officers also have to give this test. So there won't be any inequality in the system. So this is good. Okay, that's about it. And now let's quickly shift our focus to next news item, which is important from the perspective of your environment syllabus, and that is dense fog in North India. So North India, especially Indo-Gangetic Plains and Punjab, Haryana, they are facing very dense fog cover even during the day. And this has basically impacted flight routes, okay, flight schedule, train schedule, everything. Infrastructure is impacted by this and road accidents have increased. Now, why is there such a dense fog in North India? What are the environmental factors behind this? Because questions related to this are asked in your prelims examination. So we'll focus mostly on environmental factors. Okay, so let's begin quickly. So dense fog in North India. So what was in the news? Dense fog persists over Punjab, Haryana, Chandigarh due to stable atmospheric conditions, weak winds. Because if winds are strong, these winds blow away the fog. High moisture, pollution, with Indian Meteorological Department issuing yellow alerts, causing low visibility and all that. Okay. Now, when will these fog events go? Well, relief is expected with wind speed rise, new western disturbances, okay, which also bring rainfall, and that would begin after December 28. So till December 28, conditions are going to remain as they are, very dense fog conditions. Now, our main focus would be the causes. So, stable weather. Because weather is stable, winds are low, no western disturbance, calm and light winds. Well, during calm and light winds, moisture accumulates. Otherwise, the moisture is blown away. Now, when this moisture accumulates, it basically condenses on particles. Okay, if they are dust particles, it would cause smog. If they are normal particles, okay, it would cause fog, which appears similar. Clear? So this prevents fog dispersal. Why? Because winds are not blowing, no western disturbance, no rainfall. Even rainfall disperses fog. High moisture and cold night fog regenerates due to cold surfaces. There is high humidity, low sun angle, very calm nights, very cold weather. Okay. Then there is pollution, which is causing smog. Now, this has disrupted flight schedule, train schedule, and severe air quality near Delhi is also accentuating smog. So it's partly fog, partly smog because of pollution. We all know that North India suffers from severe pollution during winter months. This is what is happening. Okay. Now, you need to know about this fog classification. So, Indian Meteorological Department, remember this, questions can be asked. So, Indian Meteorological Department categorizes fog into 3 categories. It is moderate if the visibility is up to 500 meters, 200 to 500. If the visibility is only up to 50 to 200 meters, then this is dense. And very dense fog is that you cannot see beyond 50 meters also. So this is the categorization. Plus, Indo-Gangetic plains are now witnessing frequent fog events. So this is the new trend also. By the way, there is this term that is in your notes also, radiation fog. Now, what is a radiation fog? Radiation fog is that fog that happens because during night time, if the temperatures are low, the earth, the land quickly releases heat through radiations. Okay, because there is no sun. So during the day, it absorbs heat, and during night, it quickly loses the heat. Now, it loses heat very quickly, so much so that the lower layer of the atmosphere, closer to the ground, is extremely chilly, cold. And that is why the temperatures are even lower than dew point. This allows moisture to condense quickly, causing fog. This is radiation fog. Just remember this. Okay? And that would be all. With that, we conclude today's session. So thank you so much for watching, everyone. And I'm sure it has added value to your preparation. But like I say this every time, it will add more value if number 1, you're consistent and regular with this lecture series. And number 2, you revise this lecture from the notes. So please do not forget to do that. And I shall see you next time with another set of news items. Thank you, everyone.